RotoGrinders! Hey, welcome to Monday Showdown Live here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, aka Blender Ed, joined by Justin Van Zuden, STL Cards, for a barn burner. Rams Bears Monday Night Football. What's the big news so far? We've got inactives. I'm assuming that do we have big news?
Yeah, we've got Higbee out for the Rams, and that's about it. So I think that's the only big piece that we've got to mess with lineups here. But it's fairly important in the grand scheme of lineup building, I think. So that's about it. With a kind of an ugly game, a low total here tonight. But hey, everybody's playing with the same player pool.
Right, the Rams. It's a 44-point total, 6-point spread. 25 for the Rams, 19 for the Bears. Implied, obviously. Do you think that the field / you are more likely to build for a low scoring game or a high scoring game, and how does that affect your construction?
I mean, I think that most people will build it expecting a lower scoring game. I mean, that's just the nature of when you see, last night obviously a little bit different with Seattle and Arizona, but now we've got a game that the total's 44. That's pretty low for this day and age where you've seen a lot of totals in the 50s. So you'll see more people on the kickers and the defenses than usual. I think particularly compared to a slate like last night. So.
The problem with the defenses, normally we'd see cheap defenses. The Rams' defense is 5,600. The Bears is 5,200. We got Gerald Everett now, 4,800 with Higbee out. Mooney's 4,400. Malcolm Brown, 3,400. Josh Reynolds is 2,800. He's seeing snaps. So I think a lot of people build for defenses and low total games. But, with the defenses, these prices, I'm still suspecting that they're going to be lower owned than they should be in this spot.
Yeah, they will. And salary is not really a huge thing. So, I don't care that much that the Rams are $5,600. If you're leaving salary on the table anyway, it's just irrelevant to me. So if that helps keep ownership down, then, I probably am more interested in the defenses. The Bears team total is 19. So, sure, you can play some of these defenses.
Right. I'm just saying that with the salary available, people will want to put in the quarterbacks. Cup and Woods are 9K. Montgomery's 8,400. Allen Robinson's 10K. Those are the key, the top targets for the teams. But if you build a lineup with 4 of those guys in it, you're building the same type of lineup you would if this was a 56 total. Right? Because those are the key targets. We get a little slightly cheaper pieces. Jimmy Grant's 7,200, so it's you don't get a discount on that. So, and with the fact that a lot of people correlate, I don't think people understand that in low scoring games, it's not about playing the kickers and defenses. It's about playing less correlative lineups. Because if you think it's a low scoring game, obviously if it's a high scoring game, correlation rules. Make your 8 million groups, have fun all you want. In a low-scoring game, let's say it is really low scoring, 10-3. I'm using it as an example. Essentially, if you captain the guy that gets the touchdown, you win. It's very hard for anyone to put up that many points. So the flat, a lot of the player pool, Allen Robinson maybe the leading, 14 points that's the highest score of anyone in the game because it's 3 and outs all the time. The kickers are the 5th highest scoring players. But in that case, maybe no quarterbacks are there. Maybe the wide receiver is in the captain without the quarterback. Maybe the defense is in the captain, and then you have 3 running backs. I think people are going to avoid playing 2 of the Rams running backs together, and maybe the Goff, it's just doesn't throw much. They run 38 times, and having 2 of them, having 3 of them, who knows what it's gonna be? I know. I'm the mad scientist when it comes to trying to win these. It's $1 million to first. It's 150,000 entries. I'm trying to think of what is the field's going to try to correlate. They're going to try to play the kickers a little bit more. What can I do to be different. And now we have Everett and probably Josh Reynolds because Higbee is out getting more love. So how I know how I'm explaining how crazy I'm getting. What are you looking at, especially in like the construction of your build, like 3-3, 4-2, 5-1, and captain choices?
Well, if you play both defenses and both kickers, it's not really a 4-2 or a 5-1 at that point. You're just you're 16-6 with the only touchdown being a defensive touchdown. That's what I'm rooting for, and you're leaving 20K, 15K on the table. But I mean, I think there's two keys tonight. The one would be what to do with the running backs, and the second would be what to do with Jalen Ramsey potentially covering Allen Robinson, and if that's enough to slow him down. I mean, Allen Robinson has a massive target share in the Chicago offense, but if they throw all sorts of coverage at him, maybe it's the secondary Bears receivers that are the keys tonight. And I don't feel great about it, but as you mentioned, we've got Allen Robinson at 60% ownership right now. So, you can basically take any of the other Chicago pass catchers at a significantly lower mark than that. So that's one stand that I'm kind of taking tonight. And then the second, which I'm still kind of trying to decide, is how to parse out these Rams running backs. I mean, McVay has said all sorts of things all year, and then it's a different guy the next week. You look at their snap counts last week: Henderson 32, Malcolm Brown 27, and Cam Akers with one token snap. And then, McVay rattled off some excuses after the game. I don't remember what he said. It was not important because he never tells the truth anyway. But it could be any one of those three guys tonight. I mean, you're not crazy if you play Akers. You're not crazy if you play Brown, Henderson, and Akers, two of them in the same lineup. But it's going to be a wild kind of game from a roster construction standpoint because everyone's going to play the quarterbacks. Everyone's going to play Allen Robinson. Everyone's going to play Kupp. But don't be afraid to get different with the running games and the defenses here.
Right. And if you're in YouTube chat, hi, YouTube. Feel free to hit the thumbs up button, right? The more you hit the thumbs up button, the better your lineups do. I've heard. The YouTube people told me. And if you want to make your opponent's lineups do bad, just hit the thumbs down button. It doesn't matter which one you press. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here to the channel. But I think you're right. The quarterbacks we have projected own. Goff is, I think, going to be the highest owned player on the slate. We're going to have Robinson, Kupp, Woods, Montgomery. With the Bears backfield pretty much being kind of barren, is there a case? I know the Rams are the favored team, but do you think that, like, if let's say Jalen Ramsey shuts down Allen Robinson, do you think that Foles just like checks it down, or they run kind of flat routes with Montgomery, and even in a Bears loss, like let's say the Rams win 21-7 or something, that it's really like Montgomery that's catching like 7 passes out of the backfield, and he's getting most of the work this game.
Which he did 2 weeks ago. He caught 7 passes. He's not good. I mean, he's not a good player.
You don't have to be good to win a showdown. You just have to get points.
It comes down to opportunity. And, we saw 23 touches last week, 17 touches the week before. His involvement in the passing game has gone up quite a bit since Tariq Cohen went down a few weeks ago, and he's basically playing on all the snaps. They don't have a number 2 running back. Really, that's worth anything. And I think I saw that Pierce is inactive. So, I mean, you've got Montgomery, some probably goofy plays with Cordarrelle Patterson, and Ryan Null, who hasn't played on more than 7 snaps in a game all season. So, I mean, it's Montgomery's backfield at this point, and at some point, you'd think he's gonna have a breakout game. But I believe he's got a 1 rushing touchdown on the year and hasn't averaged more than 3.5 yards a carry in 5 weeks. But hey, I think he'll catch some more passes. That gives him a nicer floor these days.
Right, and then the other targets would be Darnell Mooney, second wide receiver, and they'll always mix in Anthony Miller. I mean, he's down there at 2,200. I think they use him more in the red zone than between the 20s. So in a low scoring game, a $2,200 touchdown, that could be optimal. Obviously, the kickers. I mean, the kick at their price. This could be a game where, Sloman has what 3 field goals, 1/50. It could score double digits. I think the kickers are in play for double digits. But like you said, I think the key to this slate is how you get the Rams running backs, because Henderson is 8,200, Malcolm Brown's 3,400, Akers is 1,000. If this was an even split, obviously Akers provides the best value. If Henderson is going to get like 70% of the work, that's what he's priced for. But Malcolm Brown catches more passes than Henderson, and so which is great for PPR sites like DraftKings. So at 3,400, while he may have less snaps, I think Malcolm Brown has a higher floor for 3,400. But obviously on the goal line, it's going to be Henderson more likely than not. Do you think the field's going to shy away from this situation? We currently have Henderson projected. I know that the update for Everett is not in, so we'll have to. I don't know. I'll refresh it just to see. But Henderson 46%, Brown 16%, Akers 10%. Do you think that Montgomery is worth being nearly more than twice as owned as Malcolm Brown?
Well, Montgomery I can see. Henderson I don't. I mean, we've seen them play the hot hand approach, and it was Malcolm Brown that got hot in that early game of the season against Dallas and played real well. And, the McVay is one snap away from changing his mind on everything, right? And in that first game, Malcolm Brown played 44 snaps and Darrell Henderson played 5. 3 weeks ago, Malcolm Brown played 35 snaps and Henderson played 22. So, just because Henderson got a few extra snaps last week, and yeah, he's the favorite for goal line work, doesn't mean that that's going to be the case all year. If he fails a couple times in the red zone or he fumbles or something like that, they've got enough other bodies that they can just program in there. And, and McVay's just, I don't know, he's so evasive every time people ask him questions. You just never know when he's going to make a change. So I would be underweight on Henderson and overweight on Brown and maybe even Akers, even though basically you're just doing that on a prayer. But those are the kind of things that sometimes can win you a showdown slate.
Right, and I'm doing the complete opposite. But
You're
I'm
going
crazy.
Over on Henderson?
I'm nuts. Yeah, Henderson is my most captain player on the slate. Because we've seen Henderson could go, 18 for 140 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, especially in a game that's going to be low scoring. And I'm hoping that people are correctly. See, this is the mad scientist stuff. You're right. Malcolm Brown is the better value. You're right. At 8,200, it's probably better off to play the Rams receivers or the cheaper players. So I'm just hoping that the ownership goes down because of it, especially with now Everett being a value, and because he'll be the number one tight end. I just think I'm going to get a discount. I think people are going to more likely stack Goff and play a wide receiver in the captain. So it'll be either Kupp or Woods in the captain, Goff in the flex. So the 9K captain is going to cost you. You're the accountant, right, Cards? What is that going to cost you?
What's that, as a percentage of your cap? Or?
Yeah, or whatever. Just 13.5, like 13.5 plus 10. And then you play like Montgomery or Robinson. You can't fit Henderson in that lineup. And most of the time, if you're going to play a wide receiver captain, you're not going to play an $8,200 running back with them because it's kind of negatively correlated because you want the passing game. And Henderson is not really a pass catcher.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking from that perspective that I think based on the ambiguity of the running back situation and the price of Henderson, that I think maybe he comes in at under 40% owned, which is still, owned. But would you be completely shocked with McVay, the way McVay is? If Henderson got 80% of the snaps, got 22 carries, 148 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
No, I also wouldn't be surprised if he got 5 carries.
Right.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. I think you got to play some of those guys just because somebody's likely to get some production. So, if our ownership holds, I'll probably be most overweight on Brown of the 3.
Right, and I'm going for the solo million type of stuff. If you're playing single entry, you're playing double ups, you're playing smaller field stuff, Malcolm Brown's the value. Henderson's purely a GPP large field. I mean, he has a floor. He'll get carries. We assume. But Montgomery's obviously safer on the other side. If people are looking to stack running backs, I think Montgomery Brown combination. You play one of the Rams receivers, one of the quarterbacks, Montgomery Brown, Everett now, one of the kickers, Josh Reynolds, Darnell Mooney, 4,400. I think there's enough value.
Yeah, there's definitely enough value. Right. That's not an issue at all when you're building. So, you got basically outside of your top 2 pass catchers for the Rams and Robinson, like every wide receiver is 4,400 or less. Everett's 4,800. The running backs don't break the bank. I mean, unless you're trying to play both quarterbacks in the same lineup, you're not going to have too much trouble filling your spots.
Do you think this is a 2 quarterback type of slate for GPP? I think in cash you probably do it, but I just
it's hard. I just don't see them both getting there at the salaries, and there's going to be so many lineups that have both that I think you're going to see a whole lot of both quarterbacks plus a couple of punts that it's going to be hard to build a unique lineup in tournaments that way. I think if I was playing all formats, I'd do the 2 quarterback build in cash games, and I wouldn't do it in GPPs.
Okay, Kevin Edvins in YouTube chat ask a beautiful question. Great timing, Kevin. Hit that thumbs up button. Because now we have to talk about the bottom of the pool. The guys that win you the big field GPPs, because you're most of the time you're tilting because they got the touchdown, and you're like, who is that guy? I've never heard of them. And you'll see them in the millionaire winning lineup. People are asking about the second tight end because the Rams, I mean, they run Josh Reynolds enough, so it's not fully like 2 tight end sets, but the Rams are known for 2 tight end sets. So at $200 in the DraftKings player pool is Johnny Munt. Do you know anything about this man?
I know that his last name is spelled M-U-N-T, and his first name's Johnny, and he plays for the Rams, and he apparently wears number 82, based on this picture that I am looking at right now. Hopefully, he hasn't changed his uniform number, but that's pretty much it. He played. Let's see. He was an undrafted free agent. He played at Oregon. That's right. That name sounds familiar now. That's where he played his college ball. He's 25, 6'4", 233.
But he's the second tight end. They don't have any other tight ends on the roster, right?
I believe Bryson Hopkins is active.
Is he even in the player pool? He's not even in the player pool. I don't think. Okay, let me unproject. Okay. No, I don't see him.
Yeah, he's in there for Higbee. So, I mean, I would expect Munt is still ahead of him for snaps.
Right, but I'm talking about just I'll take a look on my phone. The DraftKings. I just don't. He's not in lineup HQ currently. I just think maybe he's not. I mean, even if he's there,
we've got him projected at 0.4 fantasy points.
Oh, okay, so he is there.
Yeah, he's at $200 on as well.
Oh, okay.
But
those are always the tight end trolls. I mean, we always see, right? Some on the goal line, they run like a play action.
Cole Kmet scored last week for the Bears.
Right. Well, the Bears have what? Harris. They have what are the tight ends? Do they have?
They have Graham, Kmet, Harris, and J.P. Holtz.
Okay, I don't think you have to worry about J.P. Holtz much, but you never know. Those are. Would you play something in a weird lineup, like two of them? Like would you play Graham? Like, to me, the tight ends like that are negatively correlated, because the type of points that Kmet and Harris would get would be like a touchdown at the goal line. But with Jimmy Graham at 7,200, like. It's going to be one of the 3, but not like 2 of the 3.
Well, no, I think if you're playing 2 tight ends, it has to be one from each team. You play Graham or Everett, and then the cheap tight end from the other team, which isn't. I mean, it's not crazy by any means, right? Do your 2 defenses, your 2 kickers, Gerald Everett and Cole Kmet and have $30,000 left over.
Well, someone has to throw them the touchdowns, right? Yeah, I mean, for those tight ends to pay off. So I mean, maybe I'm nuts, but I'm not that nuts. But in the chat, Kevin Evans, feel free to put in your questions in the YouTube chat. He just thought that tight end 3 might be on the field a lot. I'm just assuming that if they're gonna run more than a double tight end set, they're running Josh Reynolds as a slot receiver. They're running even my favorite, Van Jefferson Jr. And based on his initials, I call him by his proper name, Vijay. Right? I want to play Vijay. Most people like Vijay. I played him like the 2 showdowns ago when he actually saw snaps on the field. But the last he's essentially lost his job to Josh Reynolds. He took over and he was playing more snaps over Josh Reynolds, but now, like, maybe he'll see the field 3 times. But you never know. You could do damage 3 times. So is there anyone else in this, like, low punt range that we may not have mentioned that you have your eyes on in kind of large field GPPs?
No, not outside. I mean, you got the kickers, obviously. Akers is only 1,000, so he would qualify in that range. I do like Anthony Miller, but he'll be the most popular probably of everybody under like 3K. We've seen him, relatively speaking, compared to some of these other cheap guys, we've seen him have big games before. So it's just a matter of whether you think he's going to be too chalky.
And if you play Cordarrelle Patterson, does that mean he returns? He doesn't return punt. Is Ginn going to be returning stuff? Because we always have people always ask about the double dip. Right, the returner and the defense, because a low-scoring game, this could be the type of thing where, like, we get a punt return touchdown, we get a kickoff, not a pick six.
According to their depth chart, Mooney is returning punts.
Interesting, because more likely they'll get it on a punt than a kickoff, right?
Yeah, especially now, indoors. I mean, it's not like they're playing in Chicago with where it's 30 degrees. Then maybe you see more kicks potentially be returned, but it looks like Mooney,
because Mooney's only 4,400. You playing with the Bears? You playing with the Bears defense? Like if it's special teams, I mean, on a low scoring slate, the double dip could work. And then on the Rams, who returns punt for the Rams?
Let's see, pivot over there.
I think Kupp.
Yeah, Kupp is listed on their depth chart as the first punt returner, and then somebody named Webster as their number 2.
Oh, from the old show, Webster. Are you not old enough to know Webster?
From
the old TV show in the 80s?
Yeah, I'm a little younger than that.
Okay,
I mean, late 80s I can get you, but
right, this is early 80s, so like Webster. Okay. Just tried to throw in a joke in there. We don't have to be that serious.
The only Webster I remember is from that book. Oh shoot, what's the teenager's book that has a character named Webster? That's the book with all the animals. Thankfully, somebody was it? For gosh sake, somebody's Animal Farm or somebody in the chat will save me from. I need a life raft here. Right. What book is Webster in?
I'm bringing it up in the chat. I just why not? The Webster, the little kid from the TV. Google it. I'm showing it on the screen to the viewers. That's Webster. I'm getting into sweat. This is what I would normally do on the sweat show during like half times of games on Sundays last year. Wow, there's nothing on, so let's go start Googling stuff.
Yeah, Webster was live from 83 to 87, so as a little before my time.
Okay.
At least my time of memory. I was born in 84. So, what's the book with Webster?
Charlotte's Web in the chat. That's what they're saying.
That's it. Thank you. Okay. Yes, Charlotte's Web had Webster.
Oh, the pig, the web, because the spider and the. Okay, now I remember.
Yes, I knew it was an animal thing, but I couldn't place the name of the book.
See, this is what got the chat going. We had it's like, oh, is Ramsey shadowing A-Rob? What's this ownership? Now, once we start mentioning this, now, everyone's coming out. The likes are coming in. The thumbs up are coming in. People are sharing it. Maybe that's what we should do. We should be doing a book review show.
I have to go back and read Charlotte's Web. It's been a few years, and maybe my fifth grader can fill me in. And yeah, some pig. Yeah, see, there you go. Now you got people remembering Webster, the TV show. See, nostalgia is kicking in tonight.
Right, but I don't think you roster the guy.
No.
Is he going to see the field ever? I mean, like, he'll be on special teams, like, not even... He'll be, like, on the coverage team.
Oh, no, now they're saying it was Wilbur and not Webster, and I think they're correct.
Oh, so you didn't even get the guy's name?
I've made a mockery of this. That's okay.
So is the guy's name on the Rams Webster, or... Yeah, Wilbur's the pig's name.
Yeah,
I remember
Wilbur's
reading that in the third grade. You're right. Yeah. It's not Webster.
The Rams guy is Simba Webster.
Simba's from The Lion King. Okay,
yes,
so
that I know.
We can make some correlation there.
Webster's the pig's. Yeah, we got it. Webster's the pig's name. I've redeemed myself. I will read the book again to for my transgressions.
People want engagement on the shows, Webster. And apparently it's
Wilbur rather. See, some are saying Webster, some are saying Wilbur. Now it's just a whole mess.
But yeah, don't roster that dude. So whatever. But I mean, you're not playing any of these guys in the captain. I just always want to say that even in the lowest scoring games, the chances of Johnny Munt captain and jamming in everyone else, and you still probably have 8,000 on the table doing that. Like, they're just not going to score enough points. And I mean, it could. You're right. I want to say never. I never want to say never in DFS. It'll happen 0.010111% of the time. Who would you choose as the cheapest player you'd put in the captain?
I mean, I think you could put Anthony Miller or Mooney in the captain. See, I'm not big on Robinson, and those targets got to go somewhere. You know, Montgomery in the captain is fine. He's obviously not cheap, but I think you could play Mooney or Miller in the captain
for large field GPPs. I think
correct.
I think Brown is viable in that range. I'd rather play Brown, Reynolds, Miller, Mooney than the kickers. Everett even. I mean, Everett's 4,800. Play him in the captain before the kickers. If a kicker wins captain, just whoever wins, I move on to the next slate. The kickers have no ceilings. I mean, like, I'm going to say that and someone's going to kick 7 field goals. Of course, that's what's going to happen. But I don't mind the defense captains.
Yo, I don't either.
I think at those prices, especially, I really think that ownership is going to come down on them, especially now with Everett being more of a play. That no one's going to, because you're going to, but the thing is, with defenses that expensive, you have to beat out the defense to be optimal. Has to beat out the score of Everett, Mooney, Sloman, Santos, Brown, Reynolds, Miller, like all of them. And it's very hard to do that without like a pick six or something, or a shutout, or at least, giving up only 3 points or something. So if you're going to play, so this is kind of like game theory wise. If we take a look at all the pieces that are below, if you're gonna play the Rams defense in a lineup, you don't want to play Mooney. If you don't want to play the Rams players, you don't want to play Everett. If you play the Bears defense, you say that the Rams are going to do bad. Now, it doesn't mean you don't play Kupp or Woods because they're above. They're more expensive. You just don't want to have the lower price players beat your defensive score. And obviously, if Josh Reynolds has a big day, like, they're going to beat the Bears defense's score, and the Bears defense is not going to have a good score. And the vice versa for the Rams. If you have the Rams defense in your lineup, be less inclined to play Mooney and Malcolm Brown and Anthony Miller.
Somebody's asking about how do I choose a defense on FanDuel. FanDuel does not offer the defenses, so it's a DraftKings discussion when you're talking about playing the defenses. You can't do that on FanDuel. You can take the kickers over there, but you can't take the defenses. So that would be a DraftKings specific. FanDuel, there's a lot more overlap generally. It's harder to build unique lineups, but don't be afraid to take some risks over there and use a cheaper player in your MVP slot or something like that, because there's no salary multiplier on FanDuel. Everyone's going to play Goff, Foles, Kupp in the MVP slot. So just don't be afraid to to take a few more risks over there.
Right. I think it doesn't mean you play the kicker in the MVP slot, but I think maybe play to get different in large field GPPs on FanDuel. Maybe look down to like Montgomery, like that. I'm Henderson. Because people aren't going to do it because he's overpriced. I get it. I get it. People don't have to like berate me. Like when Henderson goes out and has 10 snaps and Malcolm Brown's out there, and I'm going to get messages going, you got half your lineups are the Henderson captains. It's like I know I'm taking that risk, and I'll back it up with playing some Malcolm Brown captains as well. So like to me on this slate, for me personally in large field for the $1 million on DraftKings, like I think the slate is going to be determined by who gets the Rams running back right, and if that shift if it's a 33%, like let's say everyone gets about equal, then I'm probably going to lose because not one is not going to just stick out above the field. But if Malcolm Brown happens to get 75% at 3,400, I have a ton of them, and I have him captains and everything, and vice versa. And if Henderson gets there, he gets there. So, I mean, to me, that's the most ambiguous slot on the slate. Most people tend to be afraid to take on the risk. And I just jump in. I go, I'm going to take on the risk, and I have no problem. I'm making 100 lineups tonight. If none of them cash, then tomorrow's another day. But I'm trying to put myself in the position to... I love these low-scoring slates. I mean, obviously, if it's a high-scoring slate, I'm probably screwed. But if it's a low-scoring slate, these uncorrelated double running back defense captain lineups that even in low-scoring slates, people don't even do enough of. Like, I want to see, if I win and I want to make it, Justin, I want to make it that when my lineup wins the $1 million, that people make fun of me on Twitter. Like, I want to get to that point. People typically look at my lineups and go, okay, that was a pretty smart lineup. I want people to look at me and go, what a dumb lineup that was that won $1 million. And then I just do the gif of the money raining and whatever like that.
No, I mean, especially in a game like this, it's... you could see something like that, something goofy winning tonight, right? A few weeks ago, last week in the first game of the World Series, this is obviously not NFL, but in the first game of the Baseball World Series, the top prize was won by someone who captained Kevin Kiermaier against Clayton Kershaw and also played Kike Hernandez, who did not start the game, but came in later in the game and had like an RBI hit or something. And that won all the money on DraftKings, right? And if you're not familiar with baseball, a bad hitter hitting at the bottom of the lineup and a player who didn't even start the game was on the GPP winning lineup. And you could have looked at that lineup afterwards and thought, boy, that was a dumb lineup. Who would have ever thought about making that lineup? And there you go. It won the money. So in these single game slates, no matter what the sport is, especially in lower scoring situations, where one big hit or one big, offensive play or one big punt return can make the difference, then, it didn't happen last night with a 70-point shootout between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. But by all accounts, you're probably not going to see that tonight with these two teams and probably a slower game.
And this is I'm going to make a promise. If I win the $1 million tonight, I will buy everyone in YouTube chat. There's a lot of people in YouTube chat. I will buy you a copy of Charlotte's Web. Okay, it's on me. It's on me. If everyone in chat right now, you'll get a copy
autograph
of Charlotte's
it. We'll
Web.
put Wilbur. We'll put a Wilbur autograph on there.
I'm going to sign it Webster, even though it's wrong. But let's take a look at chat. We're getting to some of the questions that you've put in there. Can you play the Rams and Montgomery in the same lineup? Or people are asking what I was talking about before. Like, I'll bring it up on screen just to say it once again from a game theory perspective. So if you see on the screen, you see my cursor. If you see here that the Rams are 5,600 and the Bears are 5,200, typically defenses don't score like 1 million points. So if you get 14 points out of your defense, that's pretty good. In order to win the large field GPPs, you need to have the nuts. I mean, you need to have the best possible lineup construction that can fit together, which means that if one of these defenses scores 14 points, let's say Everett underneath them scores 16. Like, they would be, because they're cheaper, the cheaper player and leaving money on the table would provide the spot that has the most points. So if the Bears, let's say the Rams defense does well, that's because the Bears players aren't doing well. So, and the players you don't want to do well when you have the Rams defense are the players that are priced underneath them. So if you play the Rams defense, be less inclined to play Darnell Mooney and Cairo Santos and Anthony Miller, Cole Kmet, Patterson, Demetrius Harris, because if those lower price players do better than your defense is not going to be like the nuts and vice versa. So I know some people were asking about that. So it has nothing to do with like, do they correlate or whatever? It's just, if the defenses were 2,000, then you don't have to worry about it. You just have to worry about the players that are below the defense's price. And the same thing applies to the kickers. You have to look at Sloman and go, well, if he puts up more points than someone below it, like, then you could win. But if Cole Kmet has more points than Sloman, like, no, Cole Kmet in that lineup is going to be the winner.
Riveting stuff with all these slate-breaking options we have, like Cole Kmet. But
you can roster that guy, Webster. If you want to roster him, that's fine.
Is he available?
I asked you that. You didn't even get his name right. Is he in the player? You said he's $200.
No, Webster is the right guy's name. I got the character wrong. Yeah, he's $200.
Okay.
I mean, it's not. If he returns a kick for a touchdown, that would be awesome. If he returns a kick for a touchdown, I'll feel vindicated that all that conversation was worth it. But and the autographed copies of Charlotte's Web will be flying. Yeah, he's $200.
On a scale of 1 to absolutely stupid, how stupid is playing 3 pass catchers without their quarterback? On this slate, I don't think it is.
I mean, if you're playing 3 from the same team, the quarterback has to get there.
No, it doesn't have to. Who says
if you're playing
he has
3
to?
wide receivers from the same team, the quarterback has to get there. If you're playing 3 wide receivers from one team.
It depends on the price of the wide receivers. If Allen Robinson is one of them, okay, maybe you're right. You're telling me, hey, Justin, you're telling me that, let's say, for instance, okay, let's say this game is 12-3. 12 or whatever, field goals. Who goes? Goff throws for 180 yards and no touchdowns because, we got a Henderson goal line.
Well, I don't think you're seeing 3 wide receivers on the optimal then.
Well, Kupp and Wood, they could get 60 yards each and 6 catches and have 12 points.
I think if you're doing 3, you got to do 2, and no quarterbacks. I think you do 2 receivers from one team and 1 from the other. I don't think there's a path for 3 receivers from one team if the quarterback doesn't do anything.
It's a less of a path, but there's a path. That GIF, Jim Carrey, so you're telling me there's a chance? I'm telling you there's a chance.
This path is full of spiders and mountain lions and cougars. And
yeah, you're diving yourself into a Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, we're getting all tangled up here.
So as I say, hey, Blanco Nino in chat brings up a great point. This person busted you. You don't have to play the quarterback because Woods could get a rushing touchdown, right? Don't they do those end arounds?
Yeah, Cordarrelle Patterson. They can do those.
There you go. No quarterbacks. Cordarrelle Patterson, Robert Woods. You're good. The defense is the kickers. That's it.
Something wonky happens there. That's fair. Play whoever you want.
Now you're on. Now you're saying it. Okay. Dean's in the chat. Everyone say hi to Dean. Whenever I do shows, people say that they miss Dean. I don't know why. But Dean has tougher fade Webster or Arnold Jackson.
Yeah, see, we get the pop culture going, and Dean just buzzes himself into the chat like he's drawn to it like a moth to a flame. Pop culture references come up. Hey, we're talking Charlotte's Web. Dean has entered the chat. It's a natural occurrence.
Quarterback could get hurt. Backup comes in to throw a touchdown. We could do the siege move, the backups, right?
Trubisky comes in, he's not throwing a touchdown. So
no, you should be taking the Rams defense more if that happens.
That's correct.
A lot of people are asking Cooper Kupp or Woods. You could give your analysis, and my analysis. Who knows? I mean, just if you only have a spot for one, flip a coin. I mean, you never know.
we've got Woods at 20% lower ownership and similar overall projections. So in GPPs, for that reason, I'd side with Woods.
So there you go. See, that's play whoever you want. Kind of. Just I'm not predicting who's going to do better. So anything else? We got a couple of minutes left. If you have questions, post them in the YouTube chat. I know we don't talk that much about FanDuel. FanDuel builds are a little not most strategic because of the not salary multiplier, and there's only 5 spots. So, I mean, I apologize. I mean, I play on DraftKings mostly. It's a little bit more of a strategic game. But obviously on FanDuel, if you're playing in the small field of the cash games, the quarterbacks, the wide receiver ones, the running backs, probably you avoid the Rams backfield there. But in general, cards, I'm doing crazy stuff. I'm not making a call on Darrell Henderson, but if Darrell Henderson has a big game, there may be some people in chat getting a copy of Charlotte's Web.
There you go. We'll look forward to it. So apparently it's Malcolm Brown is kind of the guy I'm overweight on. So if one of us is going to be right, it'll be an Akers night at this point after that. But yeah, it should be interesting to see how the game plays out tonight. I'm in Illinois, so in Bears country. Enjoy listening to the shenanigans sometimes when they lose, but I don't have a horse in the race as far as rooting for a team tonight. But we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, but this could be a very ugly game.
Yep.
It could be a very quick game. I mean, it could be a game where the clock is running a lot, or it could be one. Hey, if you want to build lineups like it's going to be a shootout, like go do it. It just, like I said earlier, like what would those lineups look like that you wouldn't be building? Like, let's say you say if it's a low scoring game, I'm going to fade the quarterbacks and the wide receiver ones. Like, well, then who you play? I mean, who is there to play anymore? You're leaving 27,000 on the table in order to do that. So that's why I really think, from my perspective, like people are going to build with those players in, and essentially that's a normal scoring game. And I'm getting funky when people are asking me, can you play 3 wide receivers together? Why not? Play 4 wide receivers together with no quarterback. Play 3 running backs together. Play both defenses. And you could play. I mean, for these in the captain, if you want to play, I have currently right now in my lineups, out of 100 lineups, 25 of them have a defense in the captain.
There you go.
So, like, be nuts. If you want to try to win that million, try to win it with as little duplication as possible, because that's the higher expected value move. So, Cards, are you going to make sure to read your children's literature before we come on next week?
Absolutely. I'll be up to speed on it.
Because the difference between Charlotte's Web and Animal Farm are pretty big. Charlotte's Web is like a children's book, and Animal Farm is George, that you read that in high school. That's a cultural satire.
But both have animals, so that's
way different plots, right?
Is there a Webster in Animal Farm?
Is there a Webster in Animal Farm? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think I'm grasping. There's not. But
I have to remember the character names. Napoleon, Snowball, Old Major, Boxer, Squill. Yeah, there's no Webster. No, you couldn't even get bailed out by that. Is there a Webster in anything that you're confused? It's the show with the little.
Thankfully, there are pigs in Animal Farm, so we've at least got that overlap. Correct.
Right. It's kind of weird. We're talking about Animal Farm, Charlotte's Web, and the YouTube chat is the Lord of the Flies.
Did Dean leave? Did he just drop in for the one comment and then leave?
Well, he dropped. We start talking about actual football stuff, so that's why he left.
Ducked out. I don't know.
So yes. So if you want to use Webster or Wilbur in the captain spot, in your literature showdown contest,
Napoleon is the pig,
right,
in Animal Farm.
Yes.
All right. Fair enough.
Okay. So that's Monday Showdown, 8:15, coming up in 30 minutes. Get your lineups in. Sign up for RotoGrinders Premium, rotogrinders.com/premium. You get your first month for $5 off. You get Lineup HQ, you get all the Core 4 Sports, NFL, there's so much content. I mean, it's ridiculous. The projections are great. The tools are great. So if you could build all those groups, all those like, oh, I don't want to play this guy and that guy and this guy and this guy, you could do it all in Lineup HQ and do it for you. If you want to play 20 lineups, go for it. And I think you could even try it out. So go to rotogrinders.com/lineuphq, check it out, build some lineups, and let's see if there's going to be a solo first place winner on DraftKings tonight. So for Justin Van Zoon, Nesteel Cards, and me, Jordan Cooper, Blenderhead, this has been Monday Showdown Live on RotoGrinders.com.